Hi, and welcome back to another episode of Daily Dose of Anime Recaps. In this episode, we'll be covering the webtoon Reincarnation of the Suicidal Battle God, where the gods have abandoned Zephyr, who is the last human fighting evil in the world. All hope for humanity seems lost when he's killed by the god of destruction, Tartarus, in battle. However, the gods find his battles too entertaining to let him die, so they send him 10 years back to the past, when he was still a slave instead of the most powerful human alive. Let's go on this fantastical journey with Zephyr and see if he's able to take his revenge on the gods and save the woman he loves. Before we begin, don't forget to hit the bell icon and subscribe to our channel so you never miss an update from us. The world has been destroyed and most of the human race has been slaughtered, just a year after losing the war against the horse race. Those who survived have either become monster hosts or completely lost their minds. Constant war does have this effect on people. However, one last human has continued to fight as the last member of the resistance, whose name is Zephyr. But now he has to face Machine Tartarus, the lord of the demons. Zephyr is on the brink of dying after standing up to Tartarus for a long time in the battle. Even though he's the first human who continues to disturb the demons for so long, he's praised for his perseverance. Tartarus tells him about his annoyance with weak people, and since Zephyr is a strong individual, he advises him to work with the demons. They can conquer the world together until they reach the gods, with both of their powers combined. Zephyr wonders that his body is completely destroyed from the fight, and this demon lord knows that he won't recover. This is not an offer to work together. He wants Zephyr to beg to the person who took away everything from him. He remembers a girl who used to ask him to stop swearing, but he never listened to her anyways. He has a plan, and denies Tartarus his offer when he makes an unbelievable power explode from his body. This power cuts down Tartarus's hand and leaves his face all blackened, while Zephyr laughs at him. He's upset that a mere human has managed to humiliate him, and cuts down Zephyr with a single strike against him. This is how his fight ended without avenging his people, but he wakes up at a weird, cold place with his injuries healed and Athena armor. Where is he? There are statues of gods everywhere when he looks around. Maybe it's a temple? At the same time, Mercedes appears, who was a senior angel tasked with delivering the word of the gods. She tells him that he's already dead. However, due to popular demand from various gods, 3 supreme gods, he's being sent back to the past. He'll retain his memories so it gives him a chance to change his miserable ending. However, his trained body, magic powers, and gained skills will not be restored. Zephyr obviously finds this hard to believe because he expects the gods to want something in return, since nothing's free in life. Where were the gods when people were dying, praying desperately to them? Mercedes conveys to him that the gods just want to see a bit more fun, as his fight against the demons and their monarch was worth a watch. Zephyr gets frustrated after hearing this. All the humans were fighting for their lives, and the gods found it fun to watch. Moreover, she shows him a defeated Tartarus who wanted to conquer all the worlds, but now his pride is terribly hurt and wants a rematch with Zephyr in order to keep his record of winning all the time. Zephyr is ready to kill him, and the transfer to the past is going to begin soon. Zephyr promises to use this opportunity to take revenge from not only Tartarus, but all the gods who treated humans like they mean nothing. He's transported back in time, and he wakes up surrounded by a few men who are trying to wake him up. He looks around and sees shirtless guys, and figures that he was transported 10 years back when he was 20 years old. He's returned to the days of slavery in the temple. A little boy also thanks him for covering him up, but he doesn't know who she is, so he goes into a corner to use his revival privilege. When the privilege is triggered, his body lights up and he finds it cool that he can do this as well. The other slaves are shocked to see Zephyr working with inhuman speed. Was he originally a miner? Meanwhile, Zephyr thinks about how his privilege was opened, but all the perks are in his head, including some unknown skills. Couldn't the gods just have given him the skills without all this stupidity? The mining chief also arrives there, telling him to work with a whip, when Zephyr catches it in midair, blocking his attack, which leaves him confused. Zephyr has his strength from the battlefield, but there are no wounds on his hands at all. Privilege 1 is revealed at this time, which is called the Wall of Iron, allowing him to increase his blocking ability while lower damage is ignored, and he won't get tired easily. Zephyr wonders about his 9 perks, and if he uses the information he knows from the future, he can conserve energy fairly quickly. He quickly finishes his work, leaving everyone shocked at his speed and strength. At the end of the day, the group rankings are announced, where Zephyr's group is placed on the first place for his hard work. The rest of the groups are obviously furious at the new guy for coming in and stealing their ranks. All the slaves then proceed to pray to the goddess Arya, so Zephyr figures that the temple is devoted to her only, which is the largest religion on the continent. He looks around thinking that most of these people here will turn into monsters. But he is aware that he is a branded slave now, and he can't get out of the temple until he completes his time, and then he can proceed to the next part of the plan. He'll be sure to get revenge from Tartarus, and this time he'll successfully protect Altir, the woman he loves. The next instant, all the slaves are allowed to get medical consultation or go to the store, where food and beer looks ridiculously expensive, by the way. Zephyr chooses to go to the store, where the little boy he had supposedly saved shows up, ready to give him a treat for saving him, and for making his group get the first rank, which allowed him to get paid for the first time. He leaves the kid behind, not ready to listen to him for long, and moves on to get some recovery potions for himself. He's taking loans to buy the potions, which leaves the kid shocked. How crazy does he have to be for taking loans when his income is negative? The potion he has brought increases the horsepower, which activates his second skill that maximizes the effect of all elixirs. He keeps working and exercising, thinking of ways to make more money. He goes into the mining chief's office, telling him to contact the hunting team, as he heard the cries of a monster inside the mines. He has a plan in mind, since he figures that money should be made in the dungeons. Monsters are creatures born by the twist of mana, and they have caused a lot of trouble over the years, since most of them are hostile towards humans. However, it was also an opportunity for mankind, since their mana stones and other items like bone and leather became an extremely valuable resource, which makes them a danger, as well as the treasure. The hunting squad arrives soon, which is organized by the war-torn slave having higher basic pay. Meanwhile, the potion maker refuses to loan more money to him, so he borrows money from the nurse, keeping his intestines up for extraction if he can't pay it back. He buys the recovery potion with the money when the captain of the reconnaissance team comes to find him, as he has to guide them to the monster. Zephyr decides to use his mana sensing night vision, as these skills are needed to go into the dungeon without stimulating the monster. The hunters don't have the night vision potion either, and might have to pay for it. As far as Zephyr remembers, 2 people will be killed in this dungeon, and he'll be moved to the hunting team after this dungeon is cleared, while he has a rough idea on how to use these guys as well. They arrive outside the dungeon, where the backup team ties the thread bracelet on their hands, which apparently has magic power, which will allow them to send backup if something happens to them. They move inside, and the usual procedure is that the inspection team searches the area first, and the attack team comes in later to clear the dungeon. However, Got, the leader of their team, plans to attack the monsters, since they are allowed to do so. He tells his plan to Dale and Marco, the other 2 members, when he asks Zephyr to take out the hazelnut leaf and fruit, which will be mixed with cobalt feces to cause a unique smell to attract the monster. Next, they have set up a trap for it, which the other 2 are impressed with. However, Zephyr reveals that the leader was in his hunting team in the past, and he was the one to suggest this plan to him. Got was obviously impressed with him and figures that he can get him transferred to the hunting team as well, and gives him a weapon. However, their problems haven't ended yet, when Dale is killed by a monster. This monster looks too ferocious to fight, while all 3 magic bracelets break with the backup team inside. Zephyr's defensive skill isn't of much use against the predator, who has killed 2 of their team members. He borrows the spear from Got, getting ready to kill the long-tailed predator. Zephyr's 3rd perk includes the silver key, which can be used by the owner to take things out of the silver room. To put it simply, it's a subspace artifact which gives Zephyr a dragon's heart flower and a cloth. However, this is when the predator uses its skill to bring fear to its opponent. Got remembers the story where the predator just stuns its opponents, not even letting them blink. This is when Zephyr's dragon heart tonic works, which has a calming effect that doesn't let the fear get to him. Moreover, he throws an old poison king at the Predator, which induces extreme pain, since the Poison King was a big sadist. He has 3 minutes until the poison settles in, so he proceeds to use the spear to land critical blows at the monster. All of his recovery potions are coming to use as he utilizes all his strength to kill the Predator once and for all. In the end, he tells Got that they need to have a talk, as now he can come straight to the point. A man is begging for his life, while 2 people want to kill him for being a demon worshiper. He's given a deadly blow to his head, as a bug comes out of his mouth as he dies. It seems the bug is out, and he was a drunk worshiper as expected. The other man has wiped out 7 members of the team to catch a roach. Isn't 7 a bit low, though? He is investigator Mateus, who has only 1 month until the big raid, and wants to exterminate all the bugs before they cause his boss a big misfortune. He's tasked to act like a heretical interrogator while his boss takes care of the hunting party's complaints. At the Human Resources Department, Captain Got is ready to fill out the applicant form for Zephyr to nominate him for a place at the hunting party. If he does well, then it's going to make him look good in front of everyone, obviously. The previous day, Got is confused as to why Zephyr wants him to ignore what happened with the Predator, but he soon explains that he can hand the monster carcass, the Mana Stone, and other items to a broker and make some money out of it. Zephyr makes the Predator's body disappear with his subspace ability, instilling even more greed in Got. He proposes that they should do another 3 dungeons after this, where Got can take the rewards while Zephyr takes care of the monster. Well, the offer is too tempting, since it gives Got and his team a chance to advance to higher ranks. All he wants is a promotion, and all Zephyr wants is money. This is a good enough deal for both of them. Meanwhile, Zephyr wants to get out of the temple as soon as he can, and the Predator can get him a good price to pay off his debt. Moreover, large-scale raids of new knights are scheduled a month later, and he has to participate in it no matter what. Zephyr is registered as a part of the hunting team, and they walk around their camp where they spot the direct slaves of the heretical interrogator. Got clearly doesn't want to get in their way because they're dangerous, but this is when Sahak calls them over and asks Zephyr's name. He has undeniable senses and knows that Zephyr is an incredible master with a single glance, since it's unnatural for a minor to move up to the hunting team. So he gets ready to ask a few questions from the new member of the hunting party. Sahak asks him if he knows about a demon god worshiper, but obviously nobody knew about them better than Zephyr. These believers worship Tartaros, the demon god, and bring destruction for humans in the upcoming battle for their life. However, it is only known that they are a newly created opposition religion currently. Sahak reveals that his instincts are screaming at him that Zephyr is dangerous, so he needs to answer his questions. Before he begins, Zephyr requests him to move locations as there are too many eyes on them here. But Sahak has a unique ability that buffs the abilities of his allies within the red field. This will surely be interesting, so Zephyr takes an odd martial arts stance when Sahak charges at him with a weapon. Zephyr manages to block and hit him back by punching him straight on the face, when Sahak's other friend attacks him as well. Zephyr deals with him simultaneously, while Got wonders how strong he is that he defeated Sahak in an instant and is blocking all the attacks of the big guy too. Sahak will probably be too humiliated to get him arrested as well, and if he wins the fight, both of them can get out of this mess without being questioned. Sahak gets up, telling him that he should have begged for his life, and attacks Zephyr one more time, as all of his abilities have increased by 80%. But none of it matters. Zephyr doesn't take too long to bring him back on his knees and soon defeats the other big guy, once and for all. Furthermore, he refuses to tell his true identity to Sahak because he has won, while the boss watches him carefully from the window, wondering if he's sent here for them. All the spectators are shocked to see Sahak lose, while he is too embarrassed to have been defeated in front of the whole crowd. Zephyr wonders when the boss man will find out about this when he suddenly has a tension and body aches, which is being caused due to his mana freezing. At this point, the spirit Shylock appears under the authority of the god of loan, Sir Uzra. He is here to collect the debt for the Wall of Iron skill, as his mana has depleted to 0. A countdown starts, while Zephyr's body starts feeling too heavy, and he's unable to move at all. He manages to use the emergency recovery potion just in time to postpone the collection activity, and Shylock disappears. Uzra clearly underestimated Zephyr. when he's a pro who can avoid his collection easily. He wakes up in a bed the next instant, when the nurse asks him if he slept well. He's tied to the bed while the nurse tells him that his load is overdue and gets ready to operate on him to get his intestines. He has to think fast and asks her to hold off the collection until next week, so his dungeon clearance reward is paid. The nurse doesn't believe that he's going to pay off all the loans that he's been taking, and is too excited to take out his organs. She prepares to cut off his finger, but she stops suddenly, asking him who he is. The nurse orders her men to get out and asks Zephyr how he knows the name of the master broker, White Rose. She is the god of debt's nun, Anna Primrose, with another face she possesses which connects them with people from the dark world, and the broker, White Rose. They buy items from this woman, and he proposes a deal to her which gets her attention. Meanwhile, Sahak is furious at Zephyr and wants to kill him. This is when Ned Sunbanim arrives, asking him about the trouble he encountered earlier, with a knife held to Sahak's mouth. He doesn't like that he got beaten up in front of so many slaves, and thinks that he has made food out of all heretical interrogators. Sahak begs for one more chance, and Sunbanim tells him to kill Zephyr if he wants to have a chance. If he fails to do this, he will have to take off his red uniform. Moreover, Sunbanim gives him the Demon Lord Worshipper's crystal ball, and Sahak is ready to go to any lengths to protect his name and image. He is not going to go back to being a slave again, that's for sure. He vows to kill Zephyr, while Sunbanim smiles, instructing someone to keep an eye on him. Apparently, he's helped Sahak just to cover for himself, since the temple's head knight has let their guard down. He can infiltrate the knight's temple now and take some of their items. He's revealed to be Ned Stryer, the disciple of the Demon Lord Worshipper's officer, who doesn't want any interruptions in his task. Furthermore, he asks his henchmen to do a background check on Zephyr, who was using their martial arts technique. Can he be the reinforcement that their master sent? On the other hand, the nun is amazed to see the carcass of the predator in front of her and is ready to help Zephyr out. But first, they will need to get 3 more predators. He assures her that they will get the rest of them within 3 weeks, as she just needs to get her stuff ready. But before that, he needs to ask her one more favor. Got, Marco, and Dale are sitting down with the newbie, Zephyr, trying to enjoy themselves. They wonder if their welcome ceremony isn't grand enough for the new guy, who can be a big help for them later on. But he shocks them after taking out an expensive bottle of alcohol that he got from White Rose. They all share it, as Zephyr is sure to create results with these guys. He was on Gott's team in his past life, so he's aware that he needs a teacher to improve. However, he doesn't know about the other 2 since they were dead by this time. Dale doesn't seem to like him though, as he thinks he's just a minor who doesn't deserve to be with them. Gott tries to tell him to be nice to Zephyr, but Dale isn't having it since he believes that Zephyr just got lucky when he killed the predator. Marco tries to defuse the situation, saying that they're a team now. Looks like the alcohol brought him to his side. However, Dale still doesn't trust him and expects the dungeons to teach him that he doesn't belong here. They go to Cave Town, Edeline, which has become a nest of monsters. Zephyr uses his mana detection to spot a black steel spider inside the cave and informs his hunting team. He tells them his plan to kill the spider since they will mostly be asleep during the day. However, Dale thinks that it's going to be impossible for them to kill the spiders, and they should come back with a combat crew. Zephyr is ready to go deal with the spider alone, somehow making it more obvious to Dale that he's a scammer, and decides that this dungeon isn't as dangerous as he's telling them. But he's soon proven wrong when the spiders start attacking them, and Zephyr takes him out of their way. The spiders can't bite Zephyr with their teeth, so he brings his team closer. Marco uses his scarf to cover up his hammer, while Dale and Gott cover up their weapons with their capes to shake off all the spider webs. There are too many for them to handle though, and they can't catch a break. Zephyr gets to them after they are all gathered in one place, and they stand there looking like they have finally won. Dale is injured since he let his guard down, while Zephyr gives him a medicinal water to help him heal. He looks embarrassed to have made a mistake in front of Zephyr. They continue fighting the spiders who are moving slow because of the potion when Dale finds out that Zephyr's attack strategy actually works. How does he know everything? They kill the spider and find out that Zephyr has killed a whole mountain of them, shocking all 3 of them. Furthermore, he tells them to get out of here since this is as far as the 3 of them can go. Gott reveals that he has been on the hunting team for 4 years, and has managed to survive by avoiding the dangerous routes, which is why he's shocked when Marco and Dale want to continue traveling with Zephyr till the end. Zephyr enters the Spider Queen's nest, which is the main point of the dungeon, and is being guarded by the Spider Knights. He uses the silver key to get the plain flower, and throws it at the web while getting ready with his weapon. He causes the fire sparks in the flower, causing a dust explosion, bringing all the spiders out of their little cave and kills all the Spider Knights. This makes the Queen furious, who runs after him with her poison ready to kill Zephyr. He leads it to his team, shouting at them to go to their positions. Their plan is for Zephyr to divert the boss's attention, while the three of them catch her, while Got doesn't know if they can win, since he has always avoided danger. The hunting team doesn't know if they can catch such an enormous Spider Queen, but they trust Zephyr and attack the monster. They hit the spider in its soft flesh, which is its weakness, while Zephyr responds to every single one of the Spider Queen's attacks, which is too hard for most people. Dale notices that the Spider Queen is making minimal movements and has a set pattern of attacks. They can make it unable to move with a drug and do their job easily. Zephyr makes it unable to use its poison for a few minutes and asks his teammates to remain focused if they want to win over the monster, as this is the perfect point to deliver the killing strike. The hunting party has succeeded at killing the Spider Queen and celebrates their victory. Dale has finally understood that Zephyr isn't a scammer, and if he continues to follow him, he can be a successful hunter. Meanwhile, Zephyr's trying to figure out how to take the loot from the monster so they can make some money. Plus, Dale is going all out to make him feel like royalty, and Zephyr thinks that all three of them aren't so bad after all. However, they won't be useful when fighting against the scarier enemy, and he needs to figure out what he'll do when the time comes. Next, he gives the parts of the predator to the nun and finds it interesting that she makes such shady deals inside the temple. She tells him that they got a good price for the predator and the spider, and is impressed with Zephyr for getting him these monsters. Furthermore, she tells him to clean the lab and hands him the work clothes, and he agrees since he gets paid for it. Their conversation is interrupted by Ned's arrival, and Zephyr never knew that he will meet him like this. He tells the nun that he wants a loan, but it's obvious that his real goal is Zephyr. It's proven to be true when Ned asks him about Sahak, and the nun instantly feels a sharp, magical energy and figures that Ned is even more powerful than the Temple Knights. Ned and Zephyr prepare to fight when the nun instructs them to feel, which they instantly oblige. She slaps Zephyr, telling him to follow her so she can teach him a lesson. She also threatens Ned that she will kill him if he harms Zephyr, since he is her toy. When they're alone, the nun asks Zephyr to stop picking fights with everyone he meets, especially Ned, who's too dangerous for his own good. She asks him to be careful, and he walks off towards the lab, stopping to ask her one more favor. On the other hand, Ned thinks about his master who wanted him to go to the temple and become a slave, since their members were recently revealed and executed. The followers won't suspect a slave because of the engraving, so they have to use this opportunity to infiltrate the temple, so he can steal the loot collected from the dungeons. The villagers near the temple are going about their busy day when Sahak arrives from the temple, asking how many people are there. He has a sinister smile on his way. When he kills all 50 of the villagers in one go, he shows off his new power, promising to make Zephyr pay for humiliating him. It's nighttime at the laboratory, where Zephyr has successfully made the 72 deadly poisons of the Poison King. He's then shown in the nun's room, as he needed it to not let anyone interfere with his work. He uses the acupuncture needles on himself, since he's trying to upgrade. It turns out that the poison can increase a person's ability beyond limits when it's diluted with an opposing reaction. He utilizes the internal energy flow, which can help him increase his stats to the next level if he succeeds, but his physical body will shatter to pieces if he fails. The color of his blood vessels starts turning back to normal, and the nun sticks the remaining needle into his head when he gives her the signal. A few hours later in the northern forest near the temple, a hunting team is running for their lives being chased by dozens of monsters. Their reinforcements haven't arrived yet, and the last remaining member is about to die when Zephyr lands there. He starts attacking the bird monsters and kills them all, asking the hunter about the entrance of the dungeon he had come out of. He disappears into the dungeon, while the hunter regrets letting him go in there alone. However, he's dumbstruck when Zephyr drags the boss monster out single-handedly. It looks like the experiment was a success, and he's managed to increase his stats. Maybe he should get the perfect equipment now. On the other hand, Sahak is sitting over a number of civilian dead bodies, still obsessing over killing his enemy. A few days later, the senior hearsay examiner, Matthias, and the head of the Temple Knights, Lucius, are discussing Zephyr and his ability to take down monsters alone. They think that he wants to be put in the raid party, and Lucius stops him from interrogating him for being a demon worshipper. Lucius shows him the Spear of the Brilliant Light and the Winged Shield of Michael, which he has spent most of his wealth to acquire. He is sure to be invincible in this raid. On the other hand, Gott, Marco, and Dale wonder why the nun has come out of their room. They are shocked to see a ring on Zephyr's finger and get wrong ideas about the nun and him. It actually is the ring of purification, which the White Rose nun got for him. Meanwhile, the nun wants to make more money from the poison Zephyr makes and is ready to give him a lot of equipment in return. The hunting team also finds an emergency order that is written by Ned, and Zephyr prepares to abide by it alone. Soon, he's running towards the spot indicated on the emergency order while thinking about the Knights' raid, where they have to head to one of the most dangerous dungeons. He plans to fool Ned to get his recommendation so he can participate in the Knights' raid. Does he think he's an ally sent by his master? However, he only finds Sahak when he reaches his destination, who asks him if he's come alone. Sahak tells him that he has been on his mind constantly after he injured and humiliated him, and prepares to show him his new power. However, Zephyr takes him down, wondering what Ned has prepared to test him with. He wants Ned to come out, but only a monster controlled by Sahak arrives, who is ordered to devour him. Zephyr is a little taken aback to see the creature, but knows that it's a Shoggoth, which is the biological weapon of the demon god worshippers. The Shoggoth is about to corrupt his mind when he uses the ring that the nun gave him to remove the curse and grabs Sahak by the neck. He's furious at him for feeding innocent people to this monster, and decides that trash like him does not deserve to live. He uses his skill to punch him in the gut when the Dragon King-style secret art which allows him to feel all the lightning and thunder in his palm. Sahak has died instantly, which must have been painful with all the electricity flowing through his body. Thankfully, he knows that a Shoggoth could be killed by electricity or fire, and begins playing the Shoggoth's breakdown chord. This is when Ned makes an appearance, a little surprised to find that Zephyr knows too many things. Zephyr's glad that he has finally come, so he decides to pass his test and make him believe that he is one of the demon god worshippers. He wants to repay a debt in his heart and wants a different end to things this time around. However, Ned tells him that he is a target for elimination, but is shocked to see that all of his attacks have missed. He's impressed, since not many people can dodge his attacks. They have the same fighter stance, and Ned uses the Dragon King-style attack, but Zephyr obviously knows how to counter it. Ned knows he's the real deal, and asks Zephyr who he is, as he hasn't seen his face among the regular apprentices. Moreover, he's destroyed the Shoggoth, which was a valuable asset for the cult. But Zephyr handles the situation by telling him that he's a shadow apprentice of his cult, who's preparing for one of the current apprentices to die. A true shadow apprentice can't participate in the raid, since he'd be tied down by Altair and her comrades. But Ned obviously doesn't need to know that. Ned tries to test him by catching him in his lie, but Zephyr smartly gets out of it, telling him that he was instructed by the Master to hide his identity and participate in the raid. He even knows Ned's mission of running away with the Dragon Heart, and Master was anxious that he was alone in the mission. Moreover, he whispers the word blood tears and refuses to reveal more to him until he adds him to the raid. Looks like Ned is starting to believe him. Ned leaves him to an abandoned temple, near the temple in front of Matthias, who is revealed to be a demon god worshipper. He agrees to let him take part in the raid, but it's absurd that all 40 of the raid members are demon god worshippers only. Meanwhile, Ned thinks that the Master doesn't trust him, since he sent Zephyr, and vows to get to the Dragon Heart before him, so he can have his revenge just like the Master promised him. They are divided into their groups, while Ned and Zephyr agree to be in the same group with their own agendas. Zephyr wants him as an ally, as he can be useful if he manages to shift his trust to him. Soon it's revealed that Ned is the one who taught him all about the martial arts technique in his previous life, making him his master. The names of the raid party members are announced, and Zephyr's glad that everything is going according according to the plan, and he should settle out all his arrangements as well. He knows that the 3 dungeon clear accomplishments are taken care of, just like he promised Got, so he goes to bid farewell to his hunting team. Dale wants to learn more from him, and Zephyr promises that he eventually will. But first he needs to get to the Dragon Heart to stop the demon god worshippers from summoning their lord and ending the world. Next, he visits the nun who has chosen blunt weapons as their equipment, just like they wanted. He wishes to buy them all, especially the Twilight Sword, since his enemies aren't just the skeletons in the dungeons, but the entire raid party he's going with. This is when an enchanter called Angela arrives, who uses magic on the equipment to instill divine power and other magical attributes. With this, all of his basic preparations are complete, and he asks the nun if he can pay with the Poison King instead. Of course, she's happy to take it, as she can get a huge price for the poison. The next morning, the raid is about to begin with Temple Knight Lucius leading the party. The Tomb of the Abominable Princess dungeon raid party members include the Temple Knights Order, the Slave Rank, Heresy Inquisitors, and make up a total of 86 people. They are all divided into 2 groups, the Vanguard and the Rearguard teams. The Healer Captain is Arno, Rearguard Captain is Leona, and the Vanguard Captain is Matthias, while the Party Captain is Lucius. Lucius is considered to be the Saint of Light, who serves at the pleasure of God. Lucius expects this raid to clear the dungeon and put an end to one of the 8 riddles of the world. They go to their special training ground with all of their captains individually. Their training includes climbing a harsh mountain and fighting off a training golem. Zephyr uses the martial arts techniques during training when Ned tells him to stop doing that. Together, they eliminate 500 golems successfully. This impresses their trainers, who think that the slaves are quite talented this time. The night of the last day of training arrives, when Zephyr and Ned are spending some time together. Ned can't understand Zephyr since he hasn't harmed him even once during the training period. Zephyr agrees to tell him where the blood tears are and who has them, beginning to whisper the information in his ear. In the flashback, Ned's father tells him about their ancestral sword called Blood Tears, which their forefathers obtained after defeating the demons of the desert. Ned was set to inherit the title of Baron, so he has to become the knight that befits the sword. Soon, loan collectors turned Ned's father out of his home, since he had put his estate and title as collateral for the loan from the priest Aldean. However, he is angered to see the priest take blood tears as well, so he attacks him but is blocked by Aldean's guards. Years ago, the Temple of Light made a fortune by selling deformed financial products and deceived countless investors, which is why people like Ned's father became penniless. Aldean also cost him his life, which is why Ned went on a mission to search for the blood tears all over the world, building hatred and revenge against the Temple of Light. Currently, Zephyr has told Ned that his cult master has blood tears, which is shocking, since the cult leader and half of the 12 apostles are high-ranking priests of the temple. Moreover, he was deceived, since his master does not plan on getting Ned his revenge and only wants him to get the Dragon Heart. Ned is extremely confused and heartbroken after hearing this, until they reach the tomb of the Abominable Princess. It's more ominous than any other dungeon the raid party has ever seen. Lucius tells them that there are 9 floors, and they have succeeded in clearing it up to the 7th floor in the last raid. However, monsters still appear out of nowhere, and the raid party is instructed to prepare for combat. At the same time, Lucius's uncle, the head priest of the Temple of Light, thanks Aldean for lending them their defensive forces, since the raid party left when Aldean is also revealed to be one demon god worshipper. There are too many skeletons attacking the raid party, since there's no shortage of human bones in the dungeon. A bone golem makes an appearance at this point, which is made by combining hundreds of skeletons, and they successfully chain it up. Matthias destroys the bone golem with his magical sword, and looks for the skeleton mage, which controls all the skeletons in the dungeon. The mage will continue to churn out the skeletons at them if they don't kill it. Matthias plans to attack them one by one, but wonders where the ancient tombstone is, which supplies magical power to the mage. Lucius destroys the tombstone the next second, as well as the mage, and they refocus their attention on the rest of the mob. Everyone else is impressed with Lucius's Spear of Brilliant Light, which costs around 2 million gold, according to Zephyr. The raid party prepares to set up their camp, while Zephyr finds the temporary conference room, where Lucius tells him his plan to the rest of the captains. He plans to take the dungeon after entering the boss room, since they lost countless lives the previous year as they got surrounded by an undead army. The rest of the captains are aware that Lucius can defeat the boss monster in his current state. Flashback to the last year reveals that the boss monster was so terrifying that only looking at him was enough to break morale. That was when a Shoggoth appeared and the dungeon started moving. The day before the raid party members were announced, there was a gathering of the Demon Lord worshippers where they discussed the need to defeat the gatekeeper and come out of the boss room alive. Matthias also revealed that Lucius had borrowed the legendary item of the Pope called the Stake of Faith and plans on sticking it between doors of the room. Matthias plans to keep Lucius away from the entrance, so Ned can grab the dragon heart and they can awaken the Shoggoths. The Shoggoths will control the minds of the lesser priests, while the boss monster takes care of Lucius for them. The executives have also provided them with certain drugs which won't let the force commands of the priests work on them. Zephyr is impressed with how hard the demon god worshippers have worked for this raid, but it is soon revealed to be listening in on their conversation right now. He pulls the contraption that allows the inner structure of the dungeon to change, and he runs away, while not even Lucius's commands have any effect on him due to the drugs. This is when Ned also blocks Matthias's attack, while none of Lucius's attacks work on Zephyr, as he has the perk of strong luck. After the contraption, Zephyr knows that he can easily find the boss room since luck is on his side, while Ned also catches up with him. He has clearly chosen to side with him. Zephyr has already proposed that both of them should clear the boss room together and tells him his amazing plan to do so successfully. Ned thinks that Zephyr's plan definitely has some potential, since Ned definitely can't steal the dragon heart and runs away, because the Cardinal Aldean's knights will end up catching him no matter what. Ned knows that everything that Zephyr told him is true, and his main enemy, Aldean, is an executive of the demon god cult. He doesn't like being deceived, and vows to destroy the cult as well as the Temple of Light. The duo is still running towards the boss room and eventually find the gap that leads to it. They enter the room just when their strong luck runs out and find the boss monster asking them who they are. Looks like she's the abominable princess that the tomb was named after. Meanwhile, the walls have also stopped moving, and the rest of the raid party has managed to defeat the Shoggoths. Lucius is still confused about why his commands did not work on Zephyr. Maybe he didn't have the slaves brand from the start. He's angry that there are so many unknown demon god worshippers in his raid party, even after selecting the most trustworthy people and their direct slaves. He finds out that Ned and Zephyr came through Matthias, which isn't good news for him. On the other hand, Matthias is wondering why Ned and Zephyr ran away. Were they so scared to face the boss? He's definitely not happy at them for ruining his perfect plan. Matthias orders his people to get ready to kill or be killed when Lucius arrives there with his questions. The owner of the tomb, Princess Yoridaka, stands before Zephyr and Ned. She's the abominable princess who massacred her people 1,000 years ago. Ned doesn't believe that a beautiful girl like her can commit such crimes. He looks mesmerized by her and is ready to do anything for her. However, he finds out that this is a trap. How can he fall for such a basic illusion from the monster? It turns out that it was a perfect chance for her to eat him. His girlfriend charges at them, and Ned finally comes out of the illusion. Zephyr is aware that Yoridaka has the ability to create hundreds of blue and red hands, which absorb the stamina and the magic power of her opponents. In his past, Lucius was the one to defeat her, and Zephyr can feel him hoping for their failure. He decides to use the Wall of Iron skill against her. Meanwhile, Lucius and Matthias are having serious talks, as he's not an idiot and now knows that Matthias belongs to the dark side. There's no way he couldn't connect the dots between the Shoggoths and the slave who can ignore commands. Matthias decides that he doesn't have any other choice but to kill him since he knows too much now. It's a pity though, because this saint is equipped with legendary grade items and has too many people on his side. Matthias challenges him to a duel to stall him, while Lucius gives a force command to Matthias's own men to attack him. But it's truly a shame, as Lucius remembers that he was friends with him since he first entered the academy at 12 years old. His friend has betrayed him, But first, he wants Matthias to clean up the trap that he's made with his own hands. Matthias has been killed, but it's a huge letdown for him since most of the slaves are demon god worshippers. He has captured Matthias and asks him the reason behind the betrayal. Matthias clearly isn't ready to answer any questions and uses the branded worm to turn into a demon with the Stone of Revelation, which he was instructed to use in his final moments. And now he can never turn back into a human. Lucius grabs the opportunity and orders his men to attack the new demon since his powers must be unstable in the beginning. However, Lucius's attack has no effect on him, which surprises everyone. Lady Leona is watching everything, the other legendary item. She thinks that she can use it to link with Captain Lucius and defeat the demon. Meanwhile, in the boss room, Ned is glad that everything is going according to Zephyr's plan, since Yoridaka's skill disappears every 15 seconds. They find the chance to attack exactly when Leona finds out that the Stake of Faith is gone. Turns out that Ned has the Stake of Faith, thanks to Zephyr, and he charges right at Yoridaka. They keep fighting off the monster with their sword skills when it starts changing its form, which is the moment Zephyr has been waiting for. Zephyr screams at Ned, and the flashback reveals that Zephyr's plan was to attack Yoridaka when she is transforming, as she can't use any skills or move at this point. The perfect opportunity arrives, and Ned uses the Stake of Faith, which releases its own divine energy. The stake will deal with the majority of the damage, while they just have to try to stop the monster from removing it. He had never thought to use the stake for attacking, but he clearly doesn't have any other choice. The Stake of Faith's ignition stops, and Zephyr figures that his opponent is helpless. Finally, he has his mana potion, thinking about what would happen to Lucius if Matthias was demonified already. Zephyr tells Ned that they should start finding the dragon heart, while he appreciates Zephyr for carrying out the plan to kill the boss with just the two of them. Yoridaka is still crying for her knight to come, and gets up to attack the duo again. Why can't she just stay down? Zephyr has no choice but to use the Spider Queen's web to grab her by the throat. Yoridaka keeps using her demonic skills to annoy the duo, and even manages to injure Ned in the process. However, Zephyr isn't having it and attempts to subdue her by pressing the vessels that mana travels through in her body. Meanwhile, he's smart enough to attach some webs as well, but the pressure points become undone in a matter of seconds, which is confusing for Zephyr, who calls it a twist of events. In the meantime, the White Rose Nun wonders how Zephyr is doing with all the items she got for him. Maybe she should have gotten him a higher capacity rosary? Zephyr, in the dungeon, has realized that he's become worthless at this time against the monster, as all of his weapons are destroyed. Does he even have anything left? He can't even use any of his perks at this moment, since none of them will be useful in this point in time, and he remembers how gods are using him for their entertainment. He'll do something to make them feel bad, if he's going to die here after all. He starts to draw a symbol where the angel appears in front of him, asking how he knows about this blasphemous symbol. He's glad that his bait worked, but he's ended up catching a bigger fish than he expected to catch. All Zephyr knows about the symbol he's drawn is that it's the proof that the gods lost disgracefully in the past. Anyone who draws it receives divine punishment and dies. He doesn't even sense Yoridaka's presence in front of the angel, and it might actually be a relief, as he can recover his health as well. Zephyr asks her to pay him if she wants to know how he knows about this particular symbol. This frustrates the angel since this lower human has clearly overstepped his boundaries, but she knows that she can't kill him since the gods want him to die an interesting death. This will surely ruin their entertainment. Zephyr has hit the bullseye and calls out to the gods to give him more if they want him to continue providing entertainment. This is when a divine light comes out from the top, asking him what he wants exactly. The next moment, he confronts Yoridaka with the sword of light that was given to him just now by the goddess of light, Arya. There's no way a human's magic can block a divine artifact, and it ends up removing the curse put on Yoridaka, and she comes back to her true appearance in her human form. She asks him to drive away the evil within her when Zephyr tells her that he is her successor, since she was one of the 12 heroes. The knight Georgius presented the dragon heart to the young princess Yoridaka, who asked him to tell her what he wanted to say after he won the battle from Caesaris. She expected that there would be nothing but happiness for them, but she was wrong. Yoridaka tells how she managed to preserve the dragon heart by utilizing the magic of the tomb, but the curse eroded her, and she ended up losing her human form. She is glad to be pulled out of the darkness, thanks to Zephyr and Ned. Furthermore, she hasn't much time left and asks him the reason for wanting the dragon heart. He asks her to read his memories, and she complies, looking at everything that has ever happened to him. Meanwhile, the priests on the upper floor are still trying to fight the demonic figure of Matthias. Moreover, one of the other hidden demon worshippers also decide to kill a few priests so he can gain some favor with their lord. He attacks the priest, and they find out that there are too many demon worshippers that they had no idea about. Lucius has to stop Matthias from committing more evil. But how? It is also revealed that Lucius was never a candidate to become a saint, but he ended up being one, and Matthias was ignored even though he was the first candidate for the sainthood. Matthias is still salty about what happened when they were kids, and tells Lucius that his family is made up of scammers. On the other hand, Yuridaka is done with reading Zephyr's memories and knows that he has lived a pitiful life. He tells her that he doesn't want to lose like last time against the demons, and figures that she's experienced and must know how to absorb the dragon heart. He asks her to transform the dragon heart into him, just like she did with Georgius. However, she shocks him by stating that she cannot abide by this favor. Thousands of years ago, when the world was on the verge of collapse, the strongest black dragon, Caesarus, set the world aflame, who was one of the 12 heroes. Yuridaka and Georgius had no choice but to fight the dragon. Finally, Georgius had no choice but to strike him with the killing blow, and the year-long fight came to an end. Yuridaka tells Zephyr that all the problems in their eras were caused by people trying to summon the demon god, Tartarus. They were the only ones trying to stop the demon god from descending onto the human world in their eras. Zephyr asks Yuridaka to give him the power to protect the world, which reminds her of her old lover, Georgius, bringing tears to her eyes. She remembers the past when Georgius had asked her to transplant the dragon heart into him, so he could leave a safer world for their child. However, it became a disaster when Georgius was engulfed by a demon curse. It turned out that the golden dragon lied to her about the dragon heart being pure from the curse, and now she had to live out her life looking at her lover destroying the world. Yuridaka has finally removed the curse from his heart and wants to transplant it into a worthy hero. However, she tells Zephyr that his body isn't ready to receive the heart currently. He can't use the strong luck privilege, as he'll need that in another moment. But Yuridaka can't elaborate what that moment will be since the golden dragon spirit stops her using the dragon tongue. But she manages to tell him that the moment will come when he has to choose between the one he treasures the most and someone else. Who could that be? Yuridaka is too helpful when she instructs him to use everything in her tomb to get stronger, after which he can get the dragon heart transplant. Moreover, she's also going to change the layout of the dungeon so that he can escape from the priests. But she saves the best information for last and tells him to hunt down 4 dragons within a year to get the transplant. Well, that's certainly going to be easy. Of course, Zephyr is too cool to do it in a year and promises her that he'll get the job done in half a year. She brings out Caesarus' dragon heart after listening to him and is about to begin her end of the deal. Zephyr has activated his strong luck perk for the second time and soon goes into a darkness, which is his consciousness. He feels something other than himself and comes face to face with Caesarus, the black dragon. His presence is surely overwhelming for such a dreadful dragon. The dragon promises him that he will be the last one he ever hands his power over to. Meanwhile, the demon Matthias has decided to focus his attention on Lucius, who can't dodge his attacks on time. The saint accumulated a lot of damage when the demon kept recovering fast. Arno and Leona are dead as well, and Lucius has no support left. He has no choice but to use that power, which can prove to be dangerous for his own self as well. Matthias is about to finish him off when Lucius uses his hidden power called Glimpse of Glory, where he borrows power from the angel he becomes in the future in exchange for his lifespan. This is the most closely guarded secret of the temple, which is baffling for Matthias. Maybe this is why the saints don't live very long lives. Matthias is very upset about being passed over for his sainthood. On the other hand, Ned has woken up in the boss room and doesn't know what's going on when he spots Yuridaka doing some magical spells on Zephyr. We don't think he should disturb them, though. Lucius declares the end of the raid, since all of his party members are dead, except for the 3 of them. In the meantime, Zephyr can feel the effect of the strong luck, but doesn't want it to intervene in his face-off against the dragon. Of course, it's the world of his consciousness, and he definitely can't be scared of the black dragon. He tries to recall his past, and reveals that Kaisaris isn't the only dragon he's battled against inside his consciousness. He's actually the 5th, and these dragons are too annoying for him at this point. Kaisaris thinks that Zephyr's mouth is the only top-notch thing about him, and invites him to come and fight. Ned is confused back in the boss room, because Zephyr is unconscious. Was he defeated, and now Yuridaka is doing her magical voodoo on him? He figures this is his chance to attach, but his mana starts freezing up. This is not good timing. Yuridaka suggests he should keep resting, when he throws up the branded worm that he swallowed when he became a demon god worshipper. Turns out that Yuridaka had expelled the fragment of evil from his body, and now he can recover after a long nap. Ned is even more bewildered, but too tired to think anymore, so he ends up falling asleep. Meanwhile, Lucius's men have found the purification device and figure that they have to find a way out of the dungeon, since the pattern has completely changed. It has already been 2 days since the battle with Matthias. Will they even be able to get out of here? Instead, Lucius just wants to find the stake of faith first, when they should be prioritizing a safe escape. However, Lucius thinks that the slaves who stole the sword, namely Zephyr and Ned, may not be working with Matthias after all. If this is the case, he has to find them and get the method of escaping the dungeon out of them quickly. But they soon find the boss room's gatekeeper alive, who attacks them, and Lucius can't even use his glimpse of glory power. Is this how the life of the saint is going to end? Will he never see his family again? Looks like he's preparing to die, but not so fast. Zephyr comes out of the room at this moment, who's here to help the saint. He uses the dragon tongue power to order the skeleton head to come down this instant. Zephyr looks too confident when he orders the gatekeeper to bow down, and Lucius is baffled to see the monster actually obeying this slave. But the gatekeeper is the knight, Georgius, who has already defeated dragons when the dragon tongue's effect only lasts 10 seconds. Therefore, Zephyr decides to use the sword of light that was gifted to him by the goddess of light. However, her first request was for him to save her saint, Lucius. The fight between the knight and Zephyr starts, while Lucius looks on at the sword of light that is only used by priests. What in the world is even going on here? This supposed demon god worshipper slave is now using divine artifacts like they belong to him. He can even feel the goddess of light's presence from Zephyr, and something similar to that of the golden dragons, which makes all of them kneel down in front of Zephyr. Now's the time for Zephyr to tell what happened between him and Kaisaris, and it turns out that the battle between them lasted for 3 days inside his consciousness. At the end, Kaisaris acknowledged his power but vowed to watch Zephyr at all times, as he doesn't trust him that much yet. When he opened his eyes, he saw an unconscious Ned and Yuridaka crumbled to ashes beside him. He also finds a few keepsakes beside her body, which is the crystal of magic and a master key for the tomb, which will definitely come in handy when he wants to escape from here. Yuridaka's thoughts are left in the crystal of magic, where she asks him to give it to her descendant Altair, who has inherited her magic. He will be helpful to Zephyr when his dragon power increases, and he has to restructure his body. Zephyr decides that he will meet Altair after a while, when things have settled down a bit and the gods don't intervene. After Zephyr has dealt with the gatekeeper, Lucius removes his and Ned's brand of slavery from their shoulders. He also offers to help him in any way he can. At the same time, Ned finds it hard to trust Lucius anyway, as he still holds a grudge towards the Temple of Light. However, he figures that it's better to keep a good relationship with this saint. Zephyr shares explosive news at this moment, when he tells Lucius that the temple's parish must have become a nest of the demon god worshippers because of Aldean and his forces, including the twin knights. He can't obviously go and fight them this instant, as he needs to figure out this dragon heart's power and prepare, so he opens up the tomb's treasure room with the keys, suggesting that they all should gear up. Yuridaka's treasure room hasn't been entered into for 1,000 years. We wonder what's in there. They open the door to find thousands of crystal items just brightening up the whole room, and they all look high grade, even at first glance. Lucius looks around, knowing that the whole treasure belongs to Zephyr now. He was too arrogant to think that he was the one lending support to an ex-slave. They carry out the appraisal magic to decide the mana levels of the items, until Zephyr finds a little bottle among the relics, thinking that everything is finally turning out in his favor. All of them have chosen different items to equip themselves with, while Zephyr has put on the Dragon Slayer's outfit as well. They all have a roundtable conference where they discuss how to deal with Aldean. Ned suggests that they should identify all the demon god worshippers after killing them and finding the branded worm. But the main issue is Aldean's bloodline and status, since he belongs to the Lasker Marquis family, which belongs to nobility and has sizable influence. Ned thinks that he basically wants sizable evidence against Aldean to believe them. This is when Zephyr brings out the tiny bottle he had spotted in the treasure room, saying that they definitely have evidence. On the other hand, Aldean is performing mind tricks on Reverend Alfonso at the temple and turns his attention towards Claudia, Lucius's wife. He reveals to her that his branded worm is the thing that allows him to brainwash and control humans who ingest it, just like the Reverend right here. He basically wants her to persuade Lucius and is about to make their son ingest the worm when she stops him. This is when one of his men informs him that Lucius is already here, which is unbelievable, as he was supposed to be in the middle of a raid. It's proven to be true when he spots Lucius killing all the priests, as it is revealed that the potion Zephyr showed to him is called the Potion of Scrutiny, which will allow him to see the branded worms of the demon god worshippers if he adds a drop of it in his eyes. Lucius has done exactly what he was told, and sees the branded worms inside all the priests he's fighting, as well as Aldean. It seems that he truly has a terrible eye for people, so he shouts out that he's arresting Aldean for heresy. Strangely, Aldean starts laughing at him after hearing this. Aldean is shocked to see Lucius back so soon, even though the cult leader foresaw that he will return alive. He figures that Matthias was probably found out during the raid and defeated. But it doesn't matter, since Lucius has fallen into his trap by returning back to the temple. He puts on his act, while Bishop Alfonso, his uncle, calls out to Lucius for accusing him of heresy without any evidence. Lucius sees the branded worm in his uncle's body as well, and he figures that he might be controlled by Aldean after all. Since they have to keep the Potion of Scrutiny a secret for now, he presents the letter Aldean exchanged with Matthias that they found in the demon god worshipper's mansion. All of his plots and schemes are written in these letters, which makes Aldean laugh and confess his crimes of being an executive of the demon god cult. This is when he brings out Claudia in front of Lucius, threatening to kill her. He really is a heartless monster, isn't he? Moreover, he tells Lucius to choose which one of them gets to ingest his worm and become his loyal dog. He has to offer himself up for this position to save his wife and son, but Aldean is too clever and starts to feed it to his wife. However, Ned arrives there with his mist bracelet that doesn't let him get detected by anyone and cuts down Aldean's soldiers in an instant. He clutches Claudia when the Gold Knight appears, who is the older of the twin knights. Ned has to agree that he is an incredible fighter. However, Ned soon manages to escape with Claudia and her baby, leaving Aldean wondering if the master of the cult has deceived them, since Ned is his own disciple. Hence, Aldean decides to leave after losing his hostages, leaving all the matters to Castor, the twin knight. Castor arrives downstairs, ready to challenge Lucius to a fight, which the saint accepts. These fights sure are getting more interesting each time. The civilians and slaves are confused to find the temple locked and smoke rising from the main building. There's no way the knights are just training in there. White Rose, the nun, was already warned by Zephyr to avoid the main building, so she has remained in the slaves district. Meanwhile, Arno and Leona are participating in the fight with full enthusiasm. On the other hand, the fight between Lucius and Castro has started with their weapons of choice. Castor knows that he is skilled when Lucius tells him that a mere human like him is certainly not a match for a saint. When Lucius attacks him too many times, Castor decides to go all out and retaliate by sending the saint back to his goddess. He strikes Lucius when suddenly he hears Aldean's cries calling out to him. He gets really worried about his cardinal and gets distracted from his fight as well. It's revealed that Zephyr has caught up with Aldean, and it's revealed that this was their plan all along, to separate the knights from the cardinal, to kill them one by one. Looks like they have fallen into their trap rather beautifully. In the flashbacks, it's shown that Aldean has requested requested the cult leader to leave the transportation of the dragon heart to him, after which the leader can visit the temple for the transplant whenever he wants. The cult leader agrees to leave it to him, but now everything has gone against his plan, even though he set so many traps. He can only credit it to the Easter One's betrayal. Maybe he wanted to kill him all along? However, his confidence is still commendable, since he believes that the other cardinals will protect him for his neutral vote. He prepares to go hide when he finds a green liquid on his fingers, which is the poison that causes extreme pain. Zephyr reveals himself at this point, who was disguised until now. The other twin knight, Pollux, demands his surrender, but he also ends up dying and getting hit by a single poison needle. Maybe he wasn't the real Silver Knight? Aldian knows that he is doomed and starts to offer bribes to Zephyr so he can let him go. In the meantime, he's waiting for the real Pollux to come save him. However, Zephyr shatters his dreams by showing him the real Pollux's dead head. It's revealed that 12 hours ago, Zephyr and his group had killed Pollux near the mansion where Lucius found out that Aldian is a demon god worshipper for sure. Ned has also found out for sure that he was going to be betrayed. Back to the present, Zephyr wants to kill Aldian at this instant, but he's distracted by Aldian transforming in his demonic form. Aldian prepares to kill Zephyr when Ned hides Claudia and her kid in a cave to protect them. He soon starts running toward where Aldian is, ready to take the revenge he has waited for his entire life. Lucius is still fighting Castor when he observes that his defense is getting slower, so they strike. But have they succeeded? But the Gold Knight hasn't aimed for Lucius's head, but the brainwashed priests downstairs, including Lucius's uncle. Meanwhile, Castor is severely injured and has lost a lot of his combat ability, but he has managed to run away. Lord Aldian's safety is the top priority for him right now. On the other hand, Ned has also confronted Castor, who had killed his father. But of course, he can't remember since he's killed too many people in his life. He wants to give Ned a chance to go away before he kills him as well. Ned isn't going away so easily, taking out the Sun Sword of the Gold Knight, promising to tell him his brother's last words if he's defeated. Both of them prepare to kill each other at this point. Zephyr is engaged in a battle with Lord Aldian's demonic form, and the demon is amused by his skills, of course, since ordinary knights wouldn't have lasted in front of him after so many attacks. Their fight goes on for a long time, until Aldian tells him that his other name is Immortal Aldian, as he keeps regenerating, no matter how much a mere human cuts him. Maybe the result of this battle was decided from the beginning. However, he actually likes Zephyr now, as he has a good battle sense, and he appreciates a great warrior. He plans to put an insect in him after the battle, so Zephyr can become his subordinate forever. Looking back, a young Aldian was offered to ingest a branded worm in return for wealth, glory, and unshakable status. He has nurtured this worm since then, killing people again and again, and becoming a demon through the Stone of Revelation. Zephyr is still unharmed after receiving all-out attacks from him. It'd obviously be too simple for him to kill this demon Aldian and his two twin knights at once, if he wants to. He just separated them to, first, reward Ned and get him the revenge he wanted so badly. Secondly, demons are rare nowadays, and he wants to test his Dragonheart power somewhere, doesn't he? The data he can gain by battling demons, especially an immortal, is valuable. Aldian can't believe that nobody like him possesses the Dragonheart and starts running away since he doesn't want to die in a place like this. But Zephyr isn't going to let him escape or die so easily, and he catches him before he's gone. At the same time, Ned is pinned to the floor by the twin knight who is about to kill him. Ned thinks back to Zephyr's plan to defeat the twin knights, in which he has a crucial role to play. 25 years ago, the twin knights are kids when Master Archmage Henrik told their father, Count Vigo, that both of their mana resonates with each other. This means their mana is stimulated when one of them uses it near the other one. They will surely grow to be strong knights that work well with each other. Thanks to Count Vigo's sincere efforts, Castor and Pollux grew up to be promising knights. However, Aldian took notice of them. In order to make them his subordinates, he interfered with their family succession. He's the one who gave them the sun and moon swords that maximize their power. Together, they unleash attacks which make it impossible for them to leave gaps and slaughter their enemies. wounds. Zephyr and Ned talk about the Dragon King-style secret technique that redirects the attacks of the opponent. This is how Ned can penetrate the Gold Knight's defenses by riding the flow of his attacks and strikes Castor brilliantly. He is a little surprised, since no one knows about their secret except for Aldian. Maybe he tortured Pollux to get this information out of him? At this moment, he hears Aldian's screams echoing in his head once again. He decides to finish Ned off and go to his master, so he runs towards him. Ned sees his chance, and he uses the Crow Cape to transport him to a shorter distance until he stops Castor's movements. He strikes him, but the swords get stuck together, and Castor managed to pin him down on the floor. Ned remembers his father and the promise he made to become the knight that benefits their inherited sword. He's definitely not going to lose, so he attacks Castor's eyes, which makes him unable to see for a while. He grabs this chance to end the fight and kill Castor. This is how one of the spots in the top 10 knights of the continent has become vacant. Everyone is trying to heal the injured men at the temple. Lucius can see that their brainwashing has been undone, which can only mean that Aldian is dead or incapacitated. He hears footsteps and turns around to find Zephyr, Ned, and his wife and child. He can't thank his goddess enough at this sight. He is reunited with his family and has managed to stop Aldian's plot. The next few days were extremely hectic, with the countless treatments and arresting all the demon god worshippers that Aldian brought. Of course, they held celebrations and parties to encourage their troops. Currently, Lucius is sitting with his uncle, Alfonso, who can't believe that Aldian had him brainwashed. He is grateful to Ned and Zephyr for saving them all, of course. As a gift to Alfonso, he presents Memora's birdcage with Aldian's head inside. Zephyr surely has a sense of humor. Apparently, he has become very obedient after his beating. Plus, he can give some valuable information to them. Additionally, they start telling him the information that they found out by torturing Aldian, which includes the demon god Advent plan, the destruction and reconstruction of the world, and the names of the ones who are heading this plan. It turns out that the demon god cult grew their ranks in the Eastern Union, after which 2 of the 8 challenges of the world started destroying the Western territories. This is one of the reasons behind Lucius rushing the raid, since the Blue Dragon has made the continent's largest granary its nest, and the Ice Dragon occupies the Great Port. If they are left to their own devices, the South will die. However, the dragons are not necessarily collaborating with the cult, and the problem will be over once they are hunted. Zephyr speaks up at this point, saying that Ned and he will go and slay the dragons, which shocks Alfonso. Lucius only calmly asks them if they don't need him. Zephyr makes sense with his reasoning that Lucius has to protect the Third Parish, because the surprise attacks aren't going to just end, so he names Zephyr and Ned as senior temple knights. Lucius gives them other perks as well, including the right to enter any territory, gold, crystals, and temple offerings. The new knights plan on leaving soon, without holding any farewell banquets, which doesn't sound like good news. However, when they turn to leave, the birdcage with Aldian's head explodes, and a voice comes out asking if they have killed Aldian. He tells them to kneel, and he is the demon god cult leader. The leader of the cult is here, and nobody looks happy about it. Has he come to end it himself after learning that Aldian has failed? The leader identified Zephyr as the one who has the heart of the dragon. Zephyr doesn't know why he has appeared now, since at this stage, the leader doesn't care about losing the dragon's heart. It's a small part of the big plan anyway. Plus, he's busy enjoying his double life. Maybe he was too close to Aldian to ignore his defeat? Zephyr, Ned, and Lucius look ready for a fight since they figure that the leader is at a high level. Zephyr is touched by Lucius's protectiveness, who is not going to let the dragon's heart be taken from him. It might be over in a moment because they just have to touch Aldian's head to break the channel of communication. Ned attempts to do just this, when all of them are clutched by the leader's magic. His magical power starts spreading, and Lucius is unable to use any of his skills. He keeps torturing both Ned and Lucius, when a light crosses over between them. Zephyr stands with the Sword of Light, which can be used for 10 seconds without the goddess's permission. The worst thing Zephyr can think of is that the leader has come to get rid of them by order of Satan. He has to avoid a face-to-face confrontation somehow. So he calms down and decides to send the leader at this point. Since Tartarus wants a complete victory and defeat Zephyr in his perfect condition, how can he trample on him before? The leader is curious about him being chosen by the goddess of light. Zephyr isn't going to make it so simple. So he suggests that they make a bet and let each other know what the god of demons wants. Additionally, if Zephyr wins, he will tell his colleagues the leader's name, and he can do the same. It turns out that Zephyr knows the identity of the leader, and everyone knows he isn't bluffing. He agrees to place the bet, while Zephyr tosses the coin in the air while he calls heads, and the leader calls tails. Everyone can see where the coin is going to land, except for Reverend Alfonso. The coin has landed, while Ned wonders why Zephyr left it up to chance. Or maybe he prepared some sort of trick? They understood the reason soon enough, though. In the end, the hand that covers the coin decides the result of the toss, which is a contest of strength with a simple rule. Dragonification duration is over, when they find the coin broken in half, announcing a draw. And so, only the building is destroyed and the cult leader is sent back without much harm to everyone else. Zephyr has accurately grasped the cult leader's mentality and knew how to calm him down and make him go back. To think he clashed with the cult leader is big enough. But what about the bet? Well, it's postponed, and they've decided to have another match the next time. This is when Ned and Claudia's conversation is interrupted by the arrival of Zephyr and Lucius. Zephyr tells him that he hasn't been able to find a countermeasure for that skill, as there isn't a precise way to deal with it in the temple. He's wearing an oath ring now as well, which is why he can't reveal the cult leader's identity to them until the second round. Well, it can't be helped, considering the circumstances. He can't even give them hints, but the topic is too dangerous, and he can't tell anyone about this except for the people he trusts. Meanwhile, the cult leader is also wondering if Zephyr has revealed his identity, but is surprised to see that his oath ring hasn't disappeared yet. He expected Zephyr to be completely insane. He goes on to wish the Cayenne Kingdom's princess Altair on her birthday, and is revealed to be her brother, Polaris. Lucius is in bed with his wife, thinking about the cult leader's identity, which might be too powerful to handle. But he doesn't have any choice but to fight and win. On the other hand, Ned's revenge isn't over yet, as he's not going to stop until he has uprooted all the facilitators Aldean spoke of. Plus, he owes Zephyr a debt greater than his life and is going to repay him, no matter how powerful of an opponent he has to fight. Zephyr still can't figure out why the cult leader showed up. Maybe he was just too curious about who took the dragon heart, or maybe there's something he doesn't know. He'll find out what the case is, but first he has to take care of something before departing. He looks at the upgraded silver key, remembering that he has to meet the angel. Maybe he shouldn't keep her waiting for too long. He puts on some clothes and goes to the villa's guest room that is connected to the key, where he finds the angel. The main point of conversation is the addition of rules and rewards, as the gods didn't like Zephyr threatening them with his own life. She expects that this won't happen again. Moreover, if he does it again, then he will be the prey and his hunters will receive the perks that will be taken from him. Well, Zephyr already knew that he can use this trick once, so he doesn't mind the threats. The new rule is for him to carry out the requests of the gods, and in return, he'll get the best perks ever. The next moment, he's about to leave the Temple of Light on horseback with Ned, and it looks like they're going through the back gate. They bid farewell to Lucius and the rest of the priests and nuns. As they leave, Lucius is ready to take on the task of making people believe that he has the dragon's heart to make it easier for Zephyr to do his duty. They close the gates and the temple is blockaded indefinitely. Zephyr is on his mission, while Yoridaka and Georgius's spirits watch over him, since they have left their mission to him and their descendant, Altair, who will walk alongside him. Far away at this time, Altair receives a birthday card from her cousin Lucius, who tells her that he has sent her a birthday gift that she always desired. This is when her eyes land on Zephyr outside her window, who has taken down their guards. Zephyr and Ned have arrived at the Lindell Castle, which is the territory that was awarded to Altair when she was 16, along with the Grand Duchess title. He poses as Lucius's envoy in front of the guards to get through the gates, while Ned wonders if Lucius was right and the princess will actually prove to be of help in the dragon raid. This is when they spot the suitors who have come to see the princess, who are fighting amongst each other. Honestly, they look like thugs. It's revealed that Polaris, her brother, is suffering from an illness because of which the right of succession has been handed over to Altair and her husband. This is why she has so many suitors who want to rule as king beside her. Altair, on the other hand, does not want to utter a single word to weak men. This is why countless men have to take up a certain challenge to prove themselves strong, and end up getting a beating. Ophelia, Altair's first knight, is the challenge they have to face, who has called for her next opponent. She is one of the strongest 10 on the continent, and Zephyr thinks she looks younger this time than when he met her before. At this moment, a priest comes to tell Zephyr and Ned to get back in the line. He must have come here in place of a noble to act as his proxy. The priest steps aside after Zephyr tells him that he is an envoy from Lucius and not a suitor. The priest jokes about the princess being Lucius's lover, which doesn't sit well with Zephyr. She's the woman who'd only ever been with him until she died. He calls them over and starts a fight with them. The next instant, he's apologizing to his escort for causing a fight in the queue. However, Altair appears behind them, and Zephyr comes face to face with her. Originally, they weren't supposed to meet for another few years. He greets her, which charms Altair to no end. She asks him to give a detailed explanation of Lucius's letter. Meanwhile, Ned is highly uncomfortable with Ophelia, who keeps staring at him. Altair asks Zephyr what he can do for her, while he thinks that her communion skill hasn't bloomed yet, since she can't read someone's memories at will like Yoridaka. It turns out that she has a talent to screen strong people, which includes her ridiculous search for a groom. He decides to show her what he wants to talk about instead, and reveals his dragon heart, which shocks Altair and Ophelia. Altair suggests that Ophelia should have a match with Zephyr, which she obliges happily. It's Zephyr versus Ophelia now, and the fight starts. Zephyr has managed to fight off her sword with amazing hand movements. Her strongest thrusts can't even penetrate his skin in the second bout. And in the third bout, her weapon leaves her hand before she even knows it, and a palm strikes her in the stomach, sending her flying away. Ophelia wonders where he even came from, with such a surprisingly high level of skills. Now, he can come to the point with Altair, asking her if she wants to find a solution for the blue dragon destroying the granary. If things proceed swiftly, and the cult's attention is divided during the dragon raid, he'll present her with the dragon's head within a month. Furthermore, he asks for healers to accompany them on their journey, which shocks her as he doesn't list money in his demands. She asks him about his chances of slaying the dragon, and he places a magic crystal in her hand in response. Yoridaka had asked him to deliver it to Altair, and he has kept his promise. Because of this crystal of magic, Altair will immediately become his strongest ally, and be able to tune his dragon heart. Zephyr is happy about their first meeting, and knows that she's bound to find him. Altair thinks he's an interesting man. She also figured out that Yoridaka might have been the one who transplanted the dragon's heart into him, and he might become the key to her plans. However, she saw something strange when she touched him, but can't be sure of what it was. In the meantime, the vice cult leader, Elfried, stands before the cult leader, who tells him that there is a vacant spot among the 12 apostles. Elfried guesses that Aldean has failed, and he is ordered to not let any setbacks affect their apocalypse plan. This is why Elfried decides to go to the third parish himself. Altair is touched after receiving Yoridaka's grimoire, which will help to develop her magic that has been stagnant at level 2. Her goal is to perfect her magic and find a way to defeat the cult leader. The Crystal of Magic and her mind have been linked, which takes her to a subspace, showing her the magic of media. Furthermore, she meets Yoridaka in this space as well. On the other hand, Zephyr has won a game against Ned, which means that he gets to go to the party, while Ned stealthily searches for any demon god worshippers within the castle. They also discuss Ophelia's strange behavior when she kept staring at Ned, who doesn't believe that he's seen her before. Maybe she's a dangerous person instead of him. Zephyr gets ready for the party and performs a transformation magic on himself and arrives in the ballroom. His task is to look for anyone who might have died while he was training in the cave in his past life. He goes around the room making small talk with everyone until he finds out that they are all interested in the results of Lucius's raid. However, no one knows what actually happened during the raid or with Aldian. Soon, Zephyr finds himself sitting with a strange man who has managed to see through his transfiguration, making him wonder who this guy is. In another part of the castle, Ned has cleaned up the East Wing by killing a demon worshipper quietly. He still can't get used to the fact that this castle is so huge. He actually misses Lucius's warm home back at the temple. Please give my man Ned some love. He misses his mother and sister when Ophelia arrives there asking him about his nighttime stroll habit. He obviously couldn't sense her presence, which is quite worrying. Turns out that she's been following him, so he tells her that the people he killed were all demon worshippers. But she starts talking about the dragon raid, asking him to prove his strength to her while she takes out her weapon. Ned has to agree to this fight, half-heartedly of course. Elfried has found traces of Aldian's demonification around the vicinity of the Third Parish Temple, along with the traces of a Dragon King-style martial artist. He finds further clues, not believing that they committed such insanity when the cult's future was on the line. The Third Parish is currently restricting entry, as if they are hiding something very valuable within. It also makes sense that they are just buying time until the dragon's heart power is stabilized. He's guessing whether Lucius received the heart or the Eastern one, but for now he has to gather more evidence before the implantation is complete. That is when someone spots the vice cult leader, who starts following him. It turns out that the Eastern one's other disciple is here, who is required to cooperate with Elfried. The fight between Ned and Ophelia is still going on, and it looks like they have had more than 3 bouts. She strikes him and manages to hold her ground, until Ned appears behind her, complimenting her technique. He guesses that she still hasn't shown her true strength, while he also hasn't shown all his cards. It might be better if they just end the fight here. However, she has rightly guessed that his hidden card is the Dragon King-style martial art, which shocks Ned. This is where she starts telling him about her old mission, where she was tailing the vice cult leader, who wasn't an easy opponent, as well as the shadow disciple of the Eastern one, called the Smiling Woman, whom she was preventing from joining the Dragonheart operation. Ned's breathing made it obvious that he knows martial arts, as well as a striking resemblance to the Smiling Woman. It might be that they are related by blood. Well, it might be Ned's sister after all. Ned had gone to Aldian in his strange demonic form when he was being tortured in the temple, who was rambling about sending him to the Eastern one and not trusting Zephyr. He has been ignoring him until now, obviously. But Ophelia has told him that his sister might be alive, who is the Dragon King School's shadow disciple, when Zephyr has told him that he's the disciple. Is he repeating the same foolish mistakes? The party is also over when Zephyr is leaving, while Philip Pilgrim, the same man Zephyr was talking to, is looking at him rather obsessively. He tells his observations to his son, Edwin, who is Altair's comrade. Elise, another comrade of Altair's, believes that they must have him as their talent or break him. On the other hand, Zephyr is thinking about Philip Pilgrim, who's a merchant, and was killed by the Smiling Woman in his previous life. This will be a bit tricky, as he doesn't know her true appearance, and goes on to meet Ned, who is waiting for him anxiously. Zephyr remembers that Ned can beat him senseless when he's in the mood, when he begins telling him about his little conversation with Ophelia. This is obviously the first time Zephyr is hearing about an older sister from him, but he's even more shocked when Ned reveals that she's the shadow disciple of the Dragon King school. Zephyr remembers that the smiling woman told him about her little brother, and that she has a martial body which is hereditary. He figures that Aldean plotted their family's demise to obtain both of them from the start. Ned wants to believe that his camaraderie was real with Zephyr, since they have faced so many deadly moments together, but he just wants proof that he can trust Zephyr. This is when Zephyr tells him the whole story about their meeting in the past, as well as about the end of the world that he couldn't stop. He also reveals himself to be Ned's disciple. Zephyr tells that Ned had a plan in the past and trained him in the cave, while his desire for revenge increased with time. However, they had no choice but to come out of the cave earlier, where Ned sacrificed himself to save him. It's very hard for the present Ned to believe, but it makes too much sense for him to ignore. Come to think of it, Zephyr does use divine artifacts when he's not even a priest, and knows too much about everything. It just makes sense that he has returned to the past with perks from the gods. Zephyr is apologetic about approaching him with lies, but he needs Ned to fight the demon god again. And most of all, he wants Ned to live this time around. Ned also thanks Zephyr for taking revenge for him in the past life and saving him in this one. He knows he has taken an absurd disciple, but he wouldn't want anyone else. Everything is steeled well with them, and Ned agrees to keep his secret. They go to see Philip's group the next morning, where things progress quickly. Zephyr also figures that Altair's absence is due to the grimoire, which has induced sleep into her. Days go by in a flash after this, as they prepare a few things for the dragon raid, research new fighting methods, and hang out with the party members. It turns out that their health checks are done through hugging the other person, and Ned is definitely not comfortable with it. Ned and Zephyr are soon found by Ophelia, who tells them that the princess is summoning them. Sounds like she has finally woken up from her long nap. Zephyr runs towards her room, wondering if Yoridaka told her something about him when she went into the grimoire. Inside the grimoire, Yoridaka congratulates Altair for having her media magic reach level 3. Now, she just needs training to raise her level, telling her that none of them have been able to achieve level 8. Yoridaka's fading voice also instructs her to trust Zephyr when the princess finally wakes up. She calls Zephyr right away, and he arrives. He is still wondering how much Yoridaka has told her, and if she can read a person's memory after contacting them, so he offers her his hand. She knows what he means by this gesture, and continues to tell him that he wanted to use her for his plan, but sadly, she can't use the communication skill yet, since it's a level 7 skill. They continue their old conversation where she tells him to come up with a solid plan to kill the blue dragon in the next 3 weeks if he wants to borrow her troops. A few days later, after preparing everything, Lindell's knights and healers set out to kill the blue dragon, with Zephyr having all of his supplies. Altair is also with them, while her maid disguised as her has gone to a tourist destination. Zephyr is also thinking about Lucius and the dragon heart, but the first step is the blue dragon raid. Additionally, he has decided not to tell Altair that he has regressed, because she hasn't learned the communication skill and has forgotten her conversation with Yoridaka. He obviously can't tell her that he was her lover in the last life, since she has just met him, so he has to twist his words a little bit. They soon arrive near the Danakil Plain, which is the continent's largest fertile area, which has been destroyed since the blue dragon came, as told by Philip. The dragon is building a nest in the river's water source that flows, spewing its venom. 80% of the farmers have been wiped out since then, and it's a miracle that the rest of them have lasted this long. They reach a relief station where they have to meet up with the soldiers sent by Lord Danakil, but find one of them dead on the priest's table with purple skin. Zephyr decides to make it the first-class confidential area, and reveals his own extremely poisonous needle to respond to the dragon's venom. Zephyr is trying to heal the knight with his own poison, and the priest is helping him out in the process. Can he actually heal the dragon's venom when no healer has ever been successful? This is when Altair senses someone's arrival, and it's Captain Regulus Danakil who has reached. He doesn't look too happy with them for beginning the dragon raid right away, as he doesn't believe that the current situation is fitting to start the raid. Moreover, he believes that they're being scammed by someone and starts to order his men to secure the relief station. This is when he walks inside to see his knight, Sir Grimes, being treated with poison needles. He misunderstands Zephyr and charges at him, but is struck down by Ophelia just in time. The princess also reveals herself to him, while Sir Grimes thanks Zephyr for saving his life. Captain Danakil has to apologize to Zephyr when the princess tells him that Zephyr is sent by goddess Arya through revelation to save this entire world. She also shows him Lucius's letter, which makes Regulus swear obedience to him, while Zephyr tries to hold his laughter at her lies. Thus, the party members accept Zephyr as the operation commander, and he starts treating all the poisoned patients at the relief station. But he needs to quickly come up with the antidote. The ingredients for the antidote can only be found in the Great Elfin Forest, which isn't completely destroyed like the farmland. They have also taken Philip with them since Zephyr can't leave him at the mercy of the Smiling Woman. Their destination is the remote village outside the forest, which acts as the frontline base of operations. In this moment, Zephyr has something he wants to confirm from Altair. Altair confirms that she can't see any signs of ambush or stealth skills in the area, so he can relax until they reach the village. However, Zephyr knows that even though this place is surprisingly beautiful, it is a forest of evil that devours humans. He instructs Ned to protect Philip, as an ambush might come at any time. They reach the door of the forest, which is a device made to restrict outsiders' entry. However, it's supposed to be much deeper in the forest, and they haven't even reached the village yet. Zephyr prepares to fight the resident of the forest who doesn't want to have any conversations after looking at the armed soldiers. Furthermore, the residents also reveal how they were betrayed and massacred by Altair's brother, so they vow to give her death instead of a conversation here. Zephyr saves Altair from being injured in the chaos, which makes the gatekeeper elves really annoyed at them. Zephyr also knows that these elves are no match for him, telling them to open the door using dragon tongue. He moves forward and grabs an elf, threatening to kill her, but stops after having a look at her. But he has been waiting for the divine archer, Dariel, who was one of the strongest 10 of the continent as well. His wish is granted when Dariel stands in front of him with his bow and arrow, promising to finish him off with just one arrow. No one knows where the arrow has come from, while Zephyr stands prepared to fight in the middle of the forest. Dariel is also surprised to find that Zephyr has dodged the arrow, but figures that he won't last long since his arm is injured. Dariel shoots again with the Crimson Meteor skill, which makes Zephyr smile as the arrow is too fast to stop or dodge. If this is how it's supposed to be, then he decides to go all out as well. His movements become slow until the dragon surges upward, blocking the arrows. Dariel can't believe that this is a human, and is kind of scared as they have lost too many people because of the blue dragon. They surely don't want another one in their lives. Dariel instantly gives up when his sister Kiara kneels before Zephyr, asking him to help them. The next moment, one of the elven elders is checking Sir Grimes to test the effectiveness of the poison. The elven leader's name is Heron, who introduces them to Dariel and Kiara more formally. Heron tells Zephyr that this is the second time they have welcomed humans as guests, after signing the treaty with Prince Polaris. Before this, one human has risked his life to enter the forest and helped their intoxicated tribe members using the same poison needles that he has. That human's name was Fade, who was searching for his lost comrades. Zephyr clearly knows someone with this name, doesn't he? The Lake of Life is the water source that flows throughout the forest, and the Tree of Life is the massive tree that has grown while drinking its water. This tree holds sacred powers and gives the High Elves their powers. The Elven Kingdom used to be prosperous for 2,000 years, until the arrival of the Blue Dragon, which has made the water of the lake too poisonous. A few days ago, at the Lindell Castle, a roundtable conference is in session, where they discuss the Zephyr's plan of joining forces with the Danakil estate and the Forest Elves to get a chance at success in the Blue Dragon raid. Altair is perfectly capable of making them cooperate as well. On the other hand, Dariel's mother, the Queen, is on the bed, and it looks like she isn't feeling too well. He asks her what they should do in this situation. with the elves stuck in crisis. The real problem is the people from the Danakil estate, according to him. In the meantime, Edwin informs Zephyr that the Danakil estate people treat these elves like vermin, and nowadays their relationship is like enemies. 4 years ago, before the Blue Dragon appeared, 2 high elves called Scarlet Moon and Black Moon invaded Danakil, and they had almost won the battle, until Prince Polaris rode in as a cardinal, leading his temple knights. Do we have to imagine a heroic entry as well? Soon, the elves fled to the heart of the forest as the Gold Dragon had also joined the battle. Ultimately, the humans won and a ceasefire treaty was signed. But soon, the Blue Dragon caused the farmland to be polluted with poison. People think that the elves have been naughty enough to spread the poison, while Lord Danakil and Regulus want to work with the elves to resolve this crisis. They will surely have problems regarding their own party members trying to stab each other in the back. Back in the present, Zephyr has cooked up the story of being a pupil to Fade's old guild member, who taught him the poison production methods and needle arts. This story has certainly made him more likable in front of Heron, Dariel, and Kiara. Later, Zephyr is sticking one of his poison needles into one of the elves, while Kiara compliments him. Well, his secret is definitely good looks and being the first ever to make this poison. And Kiara does take Fade's name quite intimately. Were they romantically involved? He continues to answer her questions by telling her that Fade's and his mentor, Persephone's guild, fell to ruin because of a traitor. It also turns out that Fade isn't with the elves anymore after Dariel's arrival. Kiara obviously doesn't like that he interrupted their conversation. What a mess this is. Meanwhile, Heron thinks that Zephyr's arrival is a stroke of luck for them, since the poison left by Fade has been running out for quite a while. If Zephyr comes to their side with all of his skills, maybe the elves can find the Queen's final seal box in the center of the polluted zone. 3 years ago, the seal boxes are revealed to be hidden within the 12 towers, having the power to build a new kingdom. The girl elf wants the high elves to learn and make their own kingdoms, while Heron wants them all to stay for the queen. She soon leaves because she doesn't want to be loyal to a bedridden queen, but Heron stayed, since they weren't enough boxes for him to take as well. His true intention is to leave this place after finding the seal box, which might end up getting him imprisoned if Dariel ever finds out. He begins telling Zephyr that he ordered his elf soldiers to take the remote village and to humor them. He agrees to return the human prisoners to them. He has to manipulate Zephyr to bring him the tower's seal box first, as he wants to be king really desperately. Meanwhile, Malia and Daisy, 2 mages from the magic tower, discuss being captured and not being able to bathe. Moreover, Malia wants to kill Altair, asking Daisy if she has found any weaknesses during the travels. At the same time, at the southern metropolis Veronia, Altair's maid, Lady Katie, who is disguised as the princess, has signed her mountain range clearing projects with the Southern Architectural Guild, which is a massive honor. This has acted as a camouflage to hide their true plan of joining up with the elves, while Zephyr thinks that the demon god worshippers are probably busy dealing with their internal matters currently. Simultaneously, Kiara is showing Ned and the others the magic flora plant which the elves have created for convenience, which are not malfunctioning due to the poison making the plant a monster factory. Their only condition is to protect the village from these monsters, as they can't afford to move back to any other village. Dariel is also worried about his mother, whose poison is worse than anyone else's. Zephyr agrees to eradicate the monsters while gathering some magic stones and production material in the process. They fulfill their promise when Ned and his buddies charge at the flora plant, set the monsters on fire, and eradicate the flower from its root. Soon, Dariel is expressing his gratitude to Zephyr for helping them out, but refuses to give him a branch from the Tree of Life and the Water of Life, since they protect their village from contamination. Of course, Zephyr's not going to listen to these excuses and tells him that he should get his priorities straight if he wants to save his mother, restore the lake and tree, and slay the Blue Dragon. He's even offering to slay the dragon himself. What more do the elves even want? Does he want Zephyr to introduce him to a girlfriend? Zephyr and Dariel don't seem to be agreeing on a common ground, and since they don't have time, Dariel suggests they should let their skills do the talking. Dariel looses an arrow at him, which doesn't penetrate his skin, which makes him think that he can't fight the real dragon at all. Zephyr obviously doesn't hold back, telling Dariel that he's weak because his items are trash. Furthermore, Zephyr agrees to make him some new equipment since the best materials are already present, so he should save his tears for later. Starting out, Kiara is crying that Dariel's bow is broken as it's considered a heroic grade, plus it's really expensive. Elise confirms that the bow is indeed the heroic level and costs about 50,000 gold, which Dariel considers rather cheap. This elf is unexpectedly insane. Dariel knows that he has no choice but to move forward, and honestly, he's a little excited for the new weapon he's going to get. Maybe he's going to make him a weapon from the Tree of Life itself. But how? Soon, at the Grand Council of the Elves, Dariel and Kiara gift Zephyr the branch from the Tree of Life and water from the lake. Zephyr can't help but admire the beautiful water, which is the last of the lake that the elves have. Of course, if the raid is successful, then they will have a lot more of it. Zephyr drinks the water in one gulp, after which he's overflowing with vitality. He didn't expect to be this strong. Zephyr starts focusing on the upcoming raid, which has tougher conditions than the tomb raid they did. At the heart of the forest sits the blue dragon, surrounded by poisonous land. This is not a battle that can be handled with a human body. Thus, Zephyr needs to raise the duration and level of dragonification by using the Water of Life. They don't have a lot of time to waste on it, so Altair uses the Morai magic, pumping all the ingredients into the dragon heart. Elise is ready to keep healing him as well, while the dragon's heart average output keeps increasing until it starts going down again. Ned comes in to support his fellow Dragon King-style master, until Zephyr successfully transforms into his second form of dragonification. His total dragon heart output is 10.1%. Without wasting any more time, he rips out his scales, which he will use to make Dariel's weapon. They have to choose the supplementary material for the metal carefully, where the blacksmith Noel's part is important, who gives them clear gold, the greatest mana alloy ever. They now have clear gold, dragon scales, blood rubies from Yuridaka's tomb, and arrow shafts from the moon tree. Zephyr begins making the weapon, shouting orders using his dragon tongue. Finally, he's successful at making the black dragon longbow, which looks truly magical. 2 weeks are left until the raid, and all humans and elves are preparing by training. The training instructor is of course Ned, who doesn't look too happy about this honor. The hunting continues every single day, and they have accumulated a crazy amount of the magic stones, which disappeared in an instant as they had to be used for everything. Altair prepares to take a team of mages to create magic circles at different points by using the stones. Plus, the stones are also used to produce mysterious items by the blacksmith. As for Zephyr, his current average dragon output is 10.5%. The power of the dragon heart increases the more you use it, so he has to raise it as much as possible. His ideal goal is to reach 19% output and retain his dragon form for 28 minutes. They surely stand a chance against the blue dragon if he can manage this. He keeps using the power again, wanting to surpass everything. The night before the raid arrives, Zephyr and Altair excuse themselves to go to sleep. Altair is walking alone, thinking about how far she has come to this moment, when no one was ready to help her a year back. However, everything started to go smoothly because of Zephyr, so she arrives at his room and plants a kiss of darkness on him, taking him under mind control. She believes that he has an ulterior motive behind this raid, since nothing in this world is free. She starts off by asking him who has sent him. Zephyr tells her that he is here on his own accord for her, which she believes is not a lie as her magic is in effect. He continues telling her that she has died for him in the past, and he has returned to change that future. However, she thinks that he is screwing with her and uses a dark hand to make him confess. However, Zephyr has been waiting for her to use this skill on him, so he can tell her the whole truth. He pulls her closer and kisses her after such a long time. Meanwhile, Malia is complaining about being Altair's puppet, as obeying her pisses Malia off all the time. It turns out that Malia was in the same academy as Altair, and Daisy figures that she is just jealous of the princess to hate her so much. In order to calm her down, Daisy tells Malia that if she's successful in the raid, then she'll be recommended as a battle mage in a noble household. This catches Malia's attention and they walk away happily. Heron has been watching them all this while, waiting for them to go away. He has sneakily changed the golem's characteristics to make them listen to his orders only, and starts waiting for the next day. The morning arrives and all the troops are ready to march for the raid. There is a strange energy that everyone can feel, and Altair orders a strengthening spell for Zephyr. Last night, Zephyr had promised Altair that he would defeat all of her enemies and offer her the throne, asking her to accept him as her king in the end. In the present, Zephyr takes his dragon form again, ordering to commence the Blue Dragon raid. The total party members are 225, who are divided into the Dealer Rear Squad, the Support Rear Squad, and the Guardian Rear Squad. Only one person is the Vanguard Squad, and guess who that is? Of course, our boy Zephyr. This composition of the squads is a ridiculous idea, but it has the best chance of success since the closer one gets to the Blue Dragon, the thicker the poison fog gets. Plus, Zephyr is the only one who has poison resistance in his dragon form, being the only one who can fight in the lake. Using the electric acceleration, he reaches near the lake, which is filled with big plants, and drops the Tombstone Path golems to create a mana road. It is also revealed that Daisy has made huge video relay golems called Cyclops, which work like drones and give them video footage of everything around them. They use the Cyclops to monitor Zephyr, who has reached the Tree of Life and the Blue Dragon beside it. Kiara can't believe that the Blue Dragon is so quiet right now, when it used to start growling 3 years back. Zephyr also moves closer, glad that the dragon has not yet realized his existence yet. He has 26 minutes left now, so he activates the Black Dragon Chain. He has already figured it out that the Blue Dragon is infested with poison and is dying, which is why he's laying there in the middle of the lake. He binds his jaws tightly, making the dragon extremely furious. Zephyr proceeded to drag the Blue Dragon out of the lake so the poison can spread in its body, making it more vulnerable. Even though the dragon is supposedly weakened, Zephyr thinks that it's still too strong, so he plans to stay closer to its insides and deal damage. However, the dragon prepares to breathe its blue flame and chew up its enemy that is clutched between the claws, when it realizes that he has disappeared. Looks like Zephyr has used the silvery key to avoid the dragon's breath, but lands back inside to injure the dragon. Zephyr decides to use his dragon breath right into its mouth, which makes its breath pocket explode, making it impossible for the dragon to use its flame for the next 10 minutes. This is when he gives the signal, and the arrows are immediately dipped into extreme venom, and Dariel strikes the Blue Dragon. Everyone starts celebrating early, while Dariel believes that he will soon find his life's mission, since fighting the Blue Dragon is just a stepping stone for him. Thanks to Dariel's arrows piercing the Blue Dragon's scales, it starts to show weakness. However, Zephyr is still unable to locate its fatal weakness. The mana road starts changing its direction when the Blue Dragon decides to use its special attribute that allows it to make things move without touching them. This must mean sure destruction all around. How is Zephyr going to handle a crazy dragon with just 20 minutes left for his dragonification to end? The real battle has started after the dragon has sobered up after enduring so much pain. It's chaotic for a moment, but the rear squad quickly gets back into formation. It's quite lucky that no one has suffered grave injuries and the mana road's direction is changed successfully. Then what's actually going wrong here? For now, the rear squad is safe from the dragon, but they can die any minute if the dragon decides to shift its attention. Altair knows that they have to buck up and pull themselves together if they want to be of any help in this battle. Meanwhile, Dariel needs Zephyr to stop the dragon from moving for 4.5 seconds so Dariel's arrow can reach it. There's too much time constraint here, Dariel. Everyone is waiting for their main guy to open the dragon raid gate, who's busy breathing fire at a 10 times larger and scarier dragon. This dragon is not giving up easily, which is a little annoying for Zephyr, so he hits it with all his strength he has. The dragon slips underwater, and we wonder if dragons can even swim. The lake, however, is filled with raging monsters that come out. Maybe all the golems can take care of them for now? They have definitely made plans for this situation. However, half of the golems start running away from the battlefield. Are they too scared of the monsters? Heron looks quite happy about this turn of events, when a monster who looks on the same level as a dungeon boss launches an attack on the raid party. The Blue Dragon raid took place more than a year later in Zephyr's previous life, which Altair had led. The mission was a failure even after killing the dragon, since they couldn't obtain its dragon heart. Everyone wants a piece of a dragon heart, don't they? Zephyr had also become a temple knight to stay close to Aldean, so he could get a chance at revenge. When Lucius was also brainwashed by Aldean. He does love making puppets out of saints. That was how Zephyr came to know about Altair's defeat, which Aldean had cleverly planned, obviously. However, this time it's different. Zephyr knows the kinds of traps they have placed. Currently, he's in the Silver Key trying to see his troops' situation through the golems. The troops are having a hard time fighting the monster, and the teamwork between Dariel and Kiara is impressive. But the problem is that there are just too many monsters for them all. While Dariel gets ready to fight them off with his feather arrows. Ophelia's skills are also coming in handy as she practices her karate kicks on the oncoming monsters. Regulus, on the other hand, is tasked with protecting the Tree of Life fragment in the cabin, which is actually a really important job. He can actually use the Danakil's skill of forming a barrier around a storage area. There really is no one more perfect for this mission, and he must endure it no matter how frustrating it gets for him. But suddenly, he starts hearing Altair's screams, and despite his men stopping him, he opens the door of the barrier. However, instead of the princess, he finds Heron, who has been imitating the princess's voice. Heron is here to quickly grab the tree fragment in the magic circle and run away. An alarm is sounded, and everyone finds out that the circle has been stolen. Even though Altair can form another magic circle, it'll be great if the dragon dies soon. She dares him to kill it in 10 seconds so they can finish what they had started the previous night. Are these intimate conversations that we're listening to? He accepts the challenge and goes towards the blue dragon, who must have healed enough after taking a dip in the lake. He takes out the stake of faith which Lucius had loaned to him. He conveys the change of strategy to his troops, believing that he can pull it off within 10 minutes. The dragon's already dead meat, right? Heron and his little gang of traitorous elves are running away, dreaming about making a new kingdom after getting the last sealed box. The elf soldiers also seem to be breaking down in the troops, while Philip watches over the whole battlefield. Doesn't he have some fighting to do as well? He just looks glad that no one has starved so far. Of course, their raid party is made of some of the strongest fighters, including a guy with a dragon heart, which must be reassuring. Dariel seems like he's holding up well on the field without losing morale. Of course, the elves are dependent on their elders and kings. Phillips is aware that Dariel never tried to ascend the elf throne, so the elf village was only left with Heron, who has betrayed them. The other elves also believed that Dariel did nothing but watch when everything that matters to them was taken away, and it's not like they're actually going to win from a dragon. The runaway elves have reached in front of the tower where the Tree of Life's seed is located, and Heron can finally become a king, apparently. Meanwhile, Philip finds it strange that a merchant like him has never heard about the other elf kingdoms that were apparently formed after getting the Tree of Life's seeds. Turns out that there is a monster in the tower, which Heron believes can be defeated by the golems he stole. They managed to get the box after deceiving the monster, but it had been looking for this exact box for 3 whole years. The monster is revealed to be the Crimson Moon, Masha, who had gone through demonification after meeting the demon god Vice cult leader, and only remembers her hatred towards elves now. 3 years ago, the Vice cult leader had brainwashed Crimson Moon and Black Moon to only remember the hatred they have for elves, because they took away their radiant future. He even took pride in their transformed demon appearances, and welcomed the new demons that were going to shake things up for everyone. It had been 3 months since the 2 elves became demons when they started killing everything that came into contact with them. They started enjoying their new powers a little too much, for sure. They were even tasked to go kill the blue dragon by Aldean, where they decided that they needed the power of the dragon heart to kill all the elves. They came face to face with the dragon, who thought it was ridiculous to watch such tiny people trying to kill it. Aldean knew that they stood no chance against the dragon and sent them away to become its food. Black Moon and Crimson Moon's jealousy towards the queen, but they had lost their reality after becoming demons. They were exiled from the elfin forest, but they were smart enough to steal the Tree of Life's seed. They were soon defeated by a young elf, which turned them against their own people, which Aldean used for his own advantage. His original plan was to use them to release poison into the dragon's stomach, after which it was just a race against time to see who died first. Naturally, the blue dragon went to the lake to cure itself, while Masha kept hanging onto its tail. She jumped off on the tower and killed the security troopers. She loves causing deaths, doesn't she? No one had taken notice of her, though, and she continued to claw away at the tower meaninglessly, since she couldn't enter it. Of course, she kept feasting away as well, and drank a lot of blood. But now she remembers the broken elven queen in the chamber and is craving her blood. Will the party be able to defeat the blue dragon? Is Zephyr going to be successful at fulfilling the 10-minute challenge? How is the demon god's cult going to react after hearing about this raid? We can't wait to find out more in the next chapters.